Hey guys, it's Drew again. All right, quick question for all you baseball card junkies out there. What do 50s players Don Linhart and Dick Radowski have in common? Don't know? Well, the answer might enlighten you. Let's check it out. So one of the things I really like to do is I like to come up to my card room here and just kind of find little things that I never noticed before when it comes to cards. I mean, we all know the big cards, the Mantles and the Aarons, Clementes and so on. But what about all these common players? These guys worked hard their entire life and they made the show. They were Major League Baseball players. Some just for a season or two, some for longer careers, but so many of these guys are kind of forgotten. I like looking through those cards and trying to find little things, little interesting things that I may not have noticed before. So I came across two different cards, both from 1953. One was from Topps, one was from Bowman. Now, I knew about the one, and I'm going to show you the cards real quick. The first one is the Topps 1953 Dick Brodowski. It's card number 69. And there it is. Now, this one I got signed through the mail years ago before he passed away. He was so gracious and generous, as you can see. Great signature on there. Said, Drew, best wishes, Dick Brodowski. And I really appreciate that. I also had written him a letter, and he signed the letter as well and sent it back to me. So it's just kind of a neat little thing with my TTM collection. The other one I want to show off is for my 1953 Bowman set. And it's, it's a hitter, Don Linhart. Okay, now there's his card. I played for the St. Louis Browns, and there's a good possibility that you've never heard of any of these players or maybe don't know much about them. So let me tell you just a little bit about them. Now, Brodowski was a pitcher. He only played in four seasons. He actually lost 2 seasons to the war, to the Korean War, including 1953. He didn't play at all, but they still gave him a baseball card. He was okay pitcher. He didn't have much stats, to be honest with you. In fact, his career WAR was negative .5. And he kind of went back and forth. If you look at his baseball reference, he was .5, negative .5, .5, negative .5, back and forth until he ended up with a negative .5 WAR for his career. Don Linhart, he was around a little bit longer. He played for about 7 years. He bounced around from a number of teams. In 1953, he actually was on 3 different teams, which is kind of cool. The card that's shown shows him in the St. Louis Brown. And I don't know if you've noticed yet about what the difference is, but I've known for years and years that the Dick Brodowski, I read it in a book a long, long time ago, that this was the first baseball player that ever depicted night baseball. As you can see, he's on the Red Sox, and if you look in the background, you can clearly see, drawn in, the lights of Fenway Park. And I always thought that was kind of cool. There was one point where I was at a card show, and I was helping a buddy of mine out who was selling cards. And a couple of younger guys came up, and they were talking to me. One guy was a card collector. The other guy was strictly an autograph collector. And I'm getting to know these guys, and I'm talking to them a little bit. And the guy who was a card collector, he said, "Oh, my buddy over here, he won't buy a vintage card for anything." And I said, "You know what? I bet I can get him to buy a vintage card." And they were like, "No way! There's no way you can do that." And I said, "Well, who do you like? What's your team?" And he's like, "Well, I kind of like Ted Williams. Always liked, the Red Sox." And I thought, "Oh, I knew the card." I flipped through my buddy's comments, and I found a 1953 Dick Brodowski. And I told him the story about how, baseball and, night games were coming more and more popular, especially, as TV was coming around, there was more people to watch at night. And I said that this was the first time a card ever showed night baseball. And by the time I was done telling the story, this young man bought a 1953 Dick Brodowski for $3. I remember it. And his friend was shocked. In fact, he told me, I still know his friend, and he said, "I still can't believe you got him to buy a vintage baseball card." But, it's all about the story and the connection. But I've known this for years. What I didn't know until I was watching somebody else's video recently, they were flipping through a bunch of commons from the 1953 Bowman color. And even though I had this set, I never realized that this also from the same year shows night. You can clearly see the stadium lights on over his head. In fact, if you line this card up with the other cards from the set, you can see how the shadows are much, much different in this card because it's night and it only has a few lights on them, whereas the ones in the bright sunshine show a completely different type of thing. And I just thought it was kind of neat that both Topps and Bowman, while they were competing in the Bubblegum Wars, I mean, full out, both included a card, and I wonder, Did they know? Did they know that the other company was going to have one? I have really no idea. But both of them included a card showing Night Baseball. These guys were not Hall of Famers. These guys weren't all stars. They weren't superstars. They did face each other. I did look up their stats, and Brodowski, he didn't fare so well. Lenhart actually went 3 for 5 against him with a walk. So not really great for Brodowski, and maybe the negative .5 WAR was because of how he faced Lenhart. But the point is these are two guys that you could easily pass over as you're going through commons boxes or you're building a set. You may be looking for stars, you're looking for deals, you're looking for whatever. But look for stuff like this. Find the little stories that are included in a baseball card. They're almost like little Easter eggs that were hidden 60, 70, 80 years ago sometimes. And it's just there for us to go find. And I thought it was really neat when I found out that both in the same year, the two biggest companies that were competing head to head to try to win the pennies and nickels, the little kids out there, one bubblegum pack at a time, both decided, you know what, we're going to put one card in our set from the same year showing Night Baseball. I just thought it was kind of a neat little thing, and I thought I'd share that with you. So let me know what you think. Any other Easter eggs and vintage cards that you know about? I want to hear about them. I appreciate you listening as always, and until next time, you guys be good.